Trump's multi-step plan. As Trump likes to say, you'll get tired of winning. So here's the question. Aren't you tired of winning yet? Personally, I'm not tired yet. I've said many times that it's pointless to judge, predict, or try to calculate Trump's next moves based on his initial actions. For that, you need to know all the details and facts. But you also have to be a genius, and not everyone who analyzes his actions can boast of being a genius. Not everyone. Just as an example, I'll tell you that the Democrats caused a government shutdown because they always managed to convince the country that the Republicans were to blame for it. And naturally, voters would go after the Republicans, both directly and on your behalf and so on. So the Democrats came up with a plan where, for example, on the eve of the budget vote, the Democratic leaders in the Senate and Congress would come to the president and, in the name of the citizens, beg him not to shut down government services, even though it's actually them, not him, who are causing the shutdown. They had newspaper articles ready, instructions for television journalists and for minor party workers. And since they were planning to raise a fuss using a familiar and well-known scheme, everyone was basically on standby, so to speak. And that's when what is called Trump's multi-step plan began. I'm giving you an example, then I'll explain what's happening now. If during that meeting Trump had agreed to all of the Democrats' demands, or even just some of them, it would have been a huge victory for the Democrat. If he hadn't agreed, he would have been smeared, at least with tar, maybe even with crap. And, let's show the whole world what heartless people the Republicans are, that they don't care about people. So federal officials, there are about 2.5 million of them, 95% of them are Democrats, because for a very obvious reason, Republicans fire them and Democrats raise their salaries, give them bonuses and so on. So they knew that a break in services just means another paid vacation. And then, right now they're not getting paid, but when they come back from that vacation, they get paid for all the time they weren't working, as if they had been working. Great, just wonderful, absolutely. Trump said, yes, of course we'll meet, why not, we'll definitely meet. Until the very end, he gave Democrats time to prepare their outcry. A couple of days before the vote, on the eve of the meeting, Trump announced, Schumer started demanding a meeting, then he started asking for a meeting. Then suddenly he began to publicly, tearfully beg for a meeting. A meeting. Sorry, but the president has no time for you at all, the White House replied. Driven by their own rhetoric, the Democrats voted against the budget, and that very lockdown began, which has already been going on for 9 or 10 days now. But the bureaucrats barely had time to rejoice at the fact that they were about to get a vacation, and Trump announced that he was extremely pleased with the opportunity to solve the problem of firing federal employees without Congress or the Senate. And then the Democrats were stunned, realizing that by stopping the payment of employees and shutting down the government, they had by law handed Trump the sole right to decide whom to fire and whom to keep. And Trump began to do what he simply couldn't manage to do under normal circumstances. When the courts, Congress, and unions, so to speak, had the legal right to stop him, they did so whenever they could, and even when they couldn't, they still tried to stop him again and again. Then we'll play a different game, Trump decided. He was handed the keys to the chest and he started the layoffs. It's already about 200,000. Maybe there were already 200,000 yesterday and now there could be more. Useless officials got their notices. And also, as Trump says, somewhere around 35–40%. Another 600,000 are in line. This is a brilliant move by Trump. When he was asked if he thought the Democrats didn't realize that he was, leading them by the nose, he said, I think they're not that stupid. I think they just wanted to help me fire unnecessary employees whom I couldn't get rid of otherwise. From just sitting around to sadness. Speaking for myself, I've already calculated once. If he really fires 800,000 federal employees, yes, we spend, well, the average salary is about $110,000 per person. Plus, we also, lighting the building, benefits, $200,000 a year for each one, which means an annual savings of $160 billion. That's what you call a multi-step plan, and that's also called no one could figure out what exactly Trump was planning to do based on his first steps. And now to today's shocking news, which everyone is putting into place, which, so to speak, will calm things down. Right now, these cities that call themselves sanctuary cities, yes, well, mostly these are cities, basically 100% cities where the Democrats are in power. Well, listen, come here. In response to, well, obstacles to the work of Immigration and Customs Enforcement, that's Immigration and Customs Enforcement, Trump sent National Guardsmen to Los Angeles, which caused outrage from the mayor and the governor. Tension was rising in Washington, District of Columbia. In response to numerous complaints from residents, Trump deployed federal agency patrols and restored order in the city within a week. But Washington is a city of so-called federal jurisdiction. It is not part of any state. And Trump, therefore, started saying that he plans to send National Guard troops in the same way to 19 more cities. All of them are run by Democrats, every single one, except for, I think, one big city where Republicans are in charge. In all the others, it's the Democrats who are in control. It means there's chaos, murder, arson, and you can't go outside. So he said that he plans to send the National Guard to 19 more cities. He plans to. Where to send them, what to send, nobody knows. He just plans. It's kind of a gray area. By law, it seems they don't have the right to interfere in state affairs, but they do seem to have the right to protect federal property, buildings, right? Or federal employees like those immigration guys who are being attacked. Yeah. Trump sent guards to Portland, for example, where they specifically protected buildings and federal employees. But Immigration and Customs Enforcement employees, yes, were driving around the city arresting illegals, and the guards were following them to protect them. Mayors and governors were just bursting with hatred. Just imagine if Trump does this, cleans up the cities and brings peace and calm to cities where for years, for decades, they couldn't establish order, then no one will ever elect them again. That means they're done for. Not just done for, but completely finished. And Trump, why scare the mayors? I'll send it to you and to the governors. If you don't restore order, my guards will come there. Noise, shouting, a violation of all our democracy. He's a usurper. For now, he's just talking. He's not usurping anything. He's just saying, I'll send. I'll send guards from the Republican states, so guards, if you send your own guards. Every state has guards. Every one. They are basically under the governor's command, but with a federal order, the federal government can take them over, and they will become federally controlled. So there's panic among the Democrats. Can you imagine in all these big cities, suddenly normal life will begin? And they either had to urgently start doing it themselves, but that's very bad. They would have shown that for years, even decades, they did nothing, only acting like Trump when they got scared. That's why they chose to resist Trump. But what was Trump really relying on? But to let him in to eradicate crime, that would be suicide, let's put it that way, for the mayors and governors. And the Democrats start making mistakes. They begin to rush and, without even realizing it, follow the path he's leading them down. Who is Donald J. Trump? And so, driven to a state of powerless boiling, the Democrats ended up exactly where they were lured. Look, listen to the mayor of Chicago.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Thank you all for coming today, and thank you to all the elected officials who are here this morning. Thank you to the community organizations that are standing together at this critical moment in our country's history. We are here today to talk about the events that happened last week. Last week showed the true face of the administration's immigration policy in our city, and the whole world was able to see it. On Tuesday, federal immigration agents conducted a raid in a residential building in the South Shore neighborhood in the middle of the night, and that building was managed by a dishonest landlord, which everyone made clear. The city actually sued the owner in February for 15 building code violations.
Mayor Bradley Johnson has the lowest mayoral approval rating in the history of the United States of America. A good share for my city, the lowest rating in the history of the United States of America. Only 6% of the population thinks he is doing something useful for the city. 6%. He says that immigration and customs enforcement, those bastards, surrounded the building at night, which is in terrible condition. By the way, why was he inactive? Why didn't he do anything about it? He did nothing. Amazing. Immigration and customs enforcement arrested illegal immigrant criminals. How awful. You agree, right?
When they came in the middle of the night, they terrorized the families who lived there. There were children without clothes. They were tied up with plastic zip ties taken outside at 3 a.m.
I wonder, is it okay at 5 a.m.? So it's not okay at 3, but it's okay at 5. That's the time when federal forces stormed President Trump's house in Mar-a-Lago, and the arrest of the pastor who was praying near the Sabbatarian, praying for the souls of the slain. He was arrested for that at 5 a.m. with his 4 children and wife held at gunpoint. Well, I guess that's probably allowed, right?
The doors were broken down.
Off their hinges, the walls were smashed. Immigration agents arrived in Black Hawk helicopters to position snipers on nearby buildings. This is America.
After the killing of Kyork and the rooftop shooting at the Immigration and Customs Enforcement building, where a sniper mistakenly killed 3 detainees instead of immigration and customs enforcement officers. After that, it means we carry a sniper with us, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, we do. Only you shoot at us, and we shoot at you. No, unless, of course, you open fire first. And now comes the funniest part.
One of the residents described the situation simply, and I quote, "They had immigrants in one van and black people in another van."
That is, criminal illegals in one bus and local criminals in another. So you also think it's terrible, right, that they were separated? Oh, what a nightmare. So, actually, why did the mayor give that speech?
We need to take more decisive action than before because we are seeing a more radical attempt to undermine our democracy. Today we are signing an order aimed at curbing this uncontrolled administration. The order establishes zones free from immigration and customs enforcement. This means that city property and private businesses that do not wish to participate will no longer serve as venues for these raids.
Let me explain what all this means. If federal employees park their cars in city parking lots or on city property, the police must remove them from there. And if they don't leave, well, arrest them. And if they don't comply, shoot. Shooting at workers isn't funny, of United States federal agencies. At the same time, the head of the Chicago Patrol Division ordered not to help federal agents, even if they are in danger.
Meanwhile, in Chicago, sources told Fox News that the police were ordered not to help immigration and customs enforcement agents who were in danger. Mike Tobin will share the full story. Hello, Mike.
Yes, but we have a lot of rank-and-file Chicago police officers who are telling us behind the scenes that they are outraged that the order not to intervene was given to them after the attack on federal agents. The order apparently came through a message from the Chief of Patrol through the Office of Emergency Management and Communications. No units will respond to this. Several police sources confirmed to us that the message is genuine, and this is supported by an audio recording of the stand-down order. in order to
so that the dispatcher would believe in this absolutely impossible situation. In this completely absurd order, the duty officer had to approach the microphone and confirm it. The police in Chicago went wild. They didn't help their colleagues. They didn't help American citizens who came to their city to fulfill their duties. There has never been anything like this in this country. Has ever been seen before. That same evening, the chief of police, whose direct superior is the mayor of the city, who had just given the order to assist, came out at a press conference and said that the mayor is an idiot and a piece of crap. Seriously. In other words,
the Chicago police won't be making arrests and cannot arrest federal agents just because someone thinks their actions are illegal or improper.
that someone is the mayor, well, his boss.
Their rules of engagement are different from the Chicago police and other local law enforcement agencies. We need to understand this clearly. If we don't understand this clearly, we'll see another incident like what happened on Saturday. We can't move like this in this city. If we want to keep the peace in this city, we need to be smart about how we act. And attacking law enforcement under any circumstances is unsafe for everyone.
To put it simply, I won't obey those jerks who demand that we arrest federal agents. But the mayor, who is such an idiot that he just doesn't understand what he's doing. He doesn't understand what he's doing.
You said earlier that federal agents who violate your order will be committing a criminal offense. I want to hear more about that. I want to know more. Should they be charged with a crime? How will enforcement of the criminal aspect work?
Should be charged because it's a crime. By whom? The authority they are violating is the city of Chicago. That's a crime. That's the point. Anyone who commits a crime should be held accountable. I mean, isn't that the basic rule of what they supposedly call law and order? How do you expect people to respect your ability to maintain law and order if you don't follow it yourself?
So, you want the prosecutor to charge them?
I'm saying they should be held accountable.
But he doesn't even understand how to enforce it, and thieves. Here. Mayors of Portland in Oregon, Mayor of Phoenix in Seattle. They ordered the police not to assist federal agencies in their activities. Not at all. And now we're approaching the final chord, the final point of this well-planned trap by Trump. Just like with the Democrats in Congress, who were forced to take measures in response to which the president gained new powers. He didn't have them before. In a normal situation, it's the same here. In response to the absolutely illegal, absurd actions of mayors and governors, and the police who were ordered, Trump said today that he is going to announce the law against riots, rebellions, unrest, and uprisings is called the Insurrection Act. Before Chicago refused federal help when they were attacked by hundreds of protesters, before Chicago, Portland, Seattle, and Phoenix declared illegal, meaning federal free zones, before that, Trump couldn't send National Guardsmen to the cities of independent states, and now not only National Guardsmen, but also the Army. Without the consent of the governors, the president can, let's say, assign military personnel to perform police functions, arrests, searches, patrols, that is, to do all that. The states normally don't allow the feds to do. We have an agreement between the states. But they agreed that if of insurrection in case of riots and so on. And when the city authorities cannot cope or act in a way completely opposite to how they should, then the president of the country has the right to intervene. this very Insurrection Act and act as I described. He hasn't declared this state of emergency yet, but what he said today, I mean, he has every right to declare it, should sober up the hot-headed Democrats. If you keep getting in my way, I'll do it with a sledgehammer, Trump explained to them. And it will be a sledgehammer that your local judge won't be able to stop. There hasn't been any reaction yet, but soon there will be an outcry. There will definitely be an outcry, a herd outcry. Because once again, the Democrats lost. See you next time, everyone.